As twilight falls across Central Europe, the city of Prague prepares for another quiet night beneath its storied rooftops. The warm glow of lanterns reflects off the cobblestones, and the Vltava River flows gently under age-old bridges, carrying with it the hush of centuries past. Here in the heart of the Czech Republic, history lingers in every carved facade and delicate dome, a living memory wrapped in stone and shadow. Prague is often called the city of 100 spires, and as one begins to drift towards sleep, it's easy to imagine each spire gently watching over the city like sentinels of time. From the Gothic majesty of the Charles Bridge to the fairy tale towers of the Old Town, the city reveals itself slowly, like the turning pages of an illuminated manuscript. Its beauty is not loud or hurried, rather it invites reflection, with quiet corners, soft melodies, and the scent of roasted chestnuts drifting through cool evening air. Tonight the story will follow these silent streets and golden halls, exploring Prague's rich tapestry of legends, music, art, and dreams. With each step, the past will whisper gently, and the present will feel softer, calmer, and more serene. In Prague, time slows down. The world grows hushed, and sleep arrives like a familiar friend at the end of a cobbled lane. Welcome to Bedtime Travel Stories, where soothing tales and gentle narrations take you on a tranquil journey through the world's most enchanting places, right from the comfort of your bed. Unwind and travel with us as we explore the globe one story at a time, helping you relax and drift into a peaceful sleep. At the heart of Prague, where the Vltava River winds through the city like a ribbon of memory, the Charles Bridge stretches from bank to bank, a living passageway between centuries. The stones beneath each footstep are worn smooth by generations of travelers, monks, merchants, and musicians. Lanterns flicker gently overhead, casting long shadows from the statues of saints who watch in silence, their faces calm, as if listening to secrets whispered by the wind. Each figure carved in weathered stone has witnessed love, war, peace, and change, yet they remain steadfast sentinels of time. Crossing the bridge as night descends feels like slipping between worlds. On one side lies the medieval Old Town, a labyrinth of alleys and stories. On the other, the quiet hills of Malá Strana rise toward Prague Castle, wrapped in amber light. The bridge is more than stone. It is a threshold, a moment of stillness between departure and arrival, past and present. A violinist plays a slow melody, each note drifting like mist over the river. The sound blends with the evening air, as if the city itself were humming a lullaby. The Vltava below reflects the gentle glimmer of the sky, broken only by the slow movement of a tour boat or the occasional ripple of a swan. The soft clip-clop of footsteps over the cobbles creates a rhythm that feels ancient and comforting, echoing with familiarity. Time seems to suspend itself, inviting the traveler to simply be. There are no demands here, only calm observation, like watching a candle flicker in a chapel. This is not a place to rush through, but to savor, to let the silence and music work their way into the soul. Children pause to look up at the statues, their eyes wide with wonder, while older couples walk hand in hand saying nothing, as if every word has already been spoken. Artists line the balustrade, their brushes working in soft strokes, capturing the golds and greys of dusk. The smell of roasted almonds drifts from a nearby vendor, mingling with the faint trace of river moss and stone, warmed by the sun. A moment here can stretch to eternity, gentle, unhurried, complete. As the last light fades, Prague becomes a silhouette against the indigo sky. The castle looms above, majestic but peaceful, and the street lamps one by one begin to glow more brightly. Bells toll in the distance, measured and slow, marking not just the hour but the presence of something old and sacred. Crossing the Charles Bridge becomes more than a walk. It becomes a passage into reverie. The city reveals itself in soft layers, not with shouts but with whispers. Those who walk its span often find themselves slowing, then stopping, as if the air itself has turned to honey. Even the pigeons seem to pause, perching on the statue's shoulders like companions on a shared watch. The bridge holds stories in its silence, like a diary written without ink. Some say wishes made here travel more surely to the stars. Others simply close their eyes, let the wind brush their cheeks, and trust that being here is enough. Looking upstream, lights twinkle across the water, reflections gently dancing. A faint breeze stirs the trees along Camper Island, and the smell of lilac from a nearby courtyard carries through the air. The bridge never hurries you along. It waits patiently for each person to cross in their own time. It understands the beauty of stillness. It understands the language of dreams. And so, under the gaze of statues and the hush of river light, this chapter begins not with a rush of motion, but with a quiet breath. In Prague, even the simplest stroll can become sacred. And crossing the Charles Bridge, in the heart of evening, feels like entering the quietest corner of a dream. The Old Town Square of Prague, or Staroměstské náměstí, is a place where time drapes itself gently over every surface. As evening deepens, the stones underfoot cool with the fading warmth of the day, and the ornate facades surrounding the square begin to glow softly in the lantern light. Baroque, Gothic, and Romanesque styles stand shoulder to shoulder here, each facade telling a different tale. The square is not loud. Its grandeur is hushed, like an opera watched from behind closed eyes. The astronomical clock, or horloge, rests on the southern wall of the old town hall, its face catching the last gold streaks of sun. Soon the hour will strike, and figures will perform their delicate dance. But for now it is still ornate hands moving in silence over a map of time and stars. People gather below not just to watch the show, but to be held in the shared hush that precedes it. The air carries the faint scent of burnt sugar and cinnamon, reminders of Trdelník spinning on warm rollers nearby. Not far from the clock, a few tables remain occupied at the cafés that ring the square. Silver spoons stir slowly in cups of dark Czech coffee, and slices of apple strudel rest on porcelain plates, half forgotten as visitors stare out into the open square, lost in the sheer stillness. A musician with a battered clarinet plays a soft jazz tune, his notes rising with the light breeze and mingling with the chatter of pigeons settling down for the night. It's a moment suspended in amber, one where no one is in a hurry to move. The twin spires of the Church of Our Lady before Teen cast long shadows across the cobbles, like watchful fingers stretched toward the ground. Lit from below, the cathedral seems to float above the square, a silhouette from a half-remembered dream. Its dark stone contrasts the pastel walls of the buildings beside it, sky blue, dusty rose, and sunflower yellow, each shade softened by twilight. People stop to take pictures, then put away their phones, realizing the scene feels too sacred for screens. Horse-drawn carriages begin their final laps around the square, the gentle rhythm of hooves echoing like a lullaby. The drivers, wrapped in thick coats, offer nods and soft smiles to the few lingering strollers. The horses themselves seem to know the way by heart, turning corners with a practiced grace, their breath visible in the cooling air. For a moment, it feels as though Prague itself is exhaling, slowing down, settling into its night rhythm. Street vendors begin to pack up their booths, folding tablecloths and wrapping leftover pastries in waxed paper. But there is no rush. The square does not empty all at once. It thins gently like fog dispersing with the coming of morning. So a sense of quiet companionship hangs in the air, as if everyone here shares a secret understanding that this moment, right now, is enough. A couple stands in the center of the square, arms around each other, silent. They aren't looking at the monuments, nor posing for photos. They are simply present. Around them, laughter floats softly, glasses clink in distant courtyards, and shadows stretch slowly, as if reluctant to disappear. When the astronomical clock finally chimes, the sound is delicate, not a command but an invitation. The carved apostles emerge, bowing one by one in a ritual older than memory. The crowd watches in stillness, then quietly disperses. Night has arrived fully now, and the square welcomes it like an old friend returning from a long journey. High on the hill above the Vltava River, Prague Castle rests like a crown placed gently upon the brow of the city. Its spires and towers rise in quiet grandeur, touched by the last golden hues of the setting sun. The air is cooler up here, crisp and fragrant with ivy and ancient stone. As evening settles, the walls take on a softer tone, less fortress, more sanctuary. It feels as though the castle exhales peace, casting a hush over the tiled rooftops below. Visitors often arrive in the late afternoon and linger until the sky begins its transformation into deep indigo. Paths wind gently through the grounds, flanked by low hedges and lanterns just beginning to flicker. Each turn brings a new view of the red-roofed city stretching below, of spires peeking through the dusk, of the river bending like a ribbon of light. Prague Castle is more than one building. It is a collection of moments and spaces, gardens, courtyards, and chapels, stitched together across centuries. Inside the grounds, the glow of stained glass filters through the towering windows of St. Vitus Cathedral. Even in the fading light, the windows shimmer like jeweled tapestries, each panel a story told in silence and color. The cathedral's Gothic vaults echo with stillness, and the faint scent of wax and stone fills the cool interior. Here the rush of the world cannot reach you. The arches invite reflection, and each echo seems to return carrying the wisdom of time. In one quiet corner, a single candle burns beside a statue worn smooth by the touch of countless hands. People pause here not for ceremony but for stillness. A whispered prayer, a shared glance, a gentle nod. These are the rituals of the castle's twilight. Outside, the cathedral's dark silhouette rises against the sky, each pinnacle pointing toward stars just beginning to blink into view. Not far from the cathedral, the royal garden offers a softer space. Fountains whisper in the shadows, and wrought iron benches invite tired visitors to rest. Peacocks, sometimes visible even this late, strut silently through the hedges, their feathers muted but graceful. There is music here too, though not played, just the rustle of leaves and the soft creak of old gates closing for the night. It is enough to simply listen and breathe. As darkness gathers, lights begin to appear in the castle's windows, small golden beacons that seem to watch over the city. From this height, Prague looks like a model carved in amber and shadow. The towers of the old town, the winding lanes of Malá Strana and the curve of the Vltava all rest quietly below. It is a view that humbles and comforts at once. From here the world feels vast, yet close enough to hold in your hand. Wandering along the ramparts, one may feel the presence of stories told and untold, of emperors and poets, of saints and revolutionaries. The air holds echoes that don't need voices. A distant bell chimes from the Loreta nearby, marking the slow turning of hours. But in this moment, time feels like a gentle tide, not a current to fight but one to float upon. And so Prague Castle becomes more than stone and history. It becomes a place of deep exhale, of spacious silence, of twilight peace. As the lights below flicker awake and the stars above begin to gather, this ancient stronghold whispers only one thing: rest. Nestled between the Vltava River and the heights of Prague Castle, the district of Malá Strana unfolds like a secret garden, quiet, romantic, and timeless. Its name means little side, but the charm held in these winding lanes and baroque courtyards is anything but small. Lanterns cast golden pools of light along narrow alleys, and the soft sound of footsteps echoes off weathered walls, each stone holding stories of centuries past. The world here feels muted, as though wrapped in a velvet hush. As evening deepens, the orange-tiled rooftops take on a rich glow beneath the descending twilight. Flower boxes spill ivy and geraniums onto window ledges, their fragrance mingling with the scent of old plaster and wood smoke. Gentle music drifts from behind a closed shutter, perhaps a violin lesson in progress, or a quiet lullaby played by habit. The tempo of life slows palpably in Malá Strana. Each turn invites not discovery but presence. The streets are lined with pastel facades, worn smooth by rain and time, each one unique yet perfectly in harmony with its neighbor. Hidden courtyards surprise the wanderer, offering glimpses of sculpted fountains, sleeping cats, or flickering candles in tiny chapels. Beneath ivy-covered archways, iron gates creak softly, not in protest but in greeting. There is no rush to see it all. Malá Strana asks only that you walk slowly, breathe deeply and notice. The scent of roasted duck with caraway and dumplings wafts from a nearby tavern, mingling with the aroma of fresh-baked kolache. Inside, the tables are simple wood, the napkins cotton and well-used, the smiles of the servers genuine. Locals and visitors alike settle in for warm meals and low conversation, their laughter slow and easy. Outside, a candle flickers on each windowsill, casting just enough light to illuminate a brass knocker or the curling tail of a wrought iron railing. Lanterns reflect gently in puddles left from a recent drizzle, and the sound of distant bells carries down the narrow paths. A young couple stands at the base of a statue of St. Nicholas, not speaking, simply leaning into each other, as if Malá Strana has gently pressed them closer. Above them, balconies stretch out with their wrought iron curves, vines tracing graceful paths like embroidery stitched by time. The air is still yet alive with quiet meaning. By the canal known as Chertovka, or the Devil's Stream, water wheels turn slowly and ducks glide across the mirror-still surface. The reflections are so clear they seem to double the world, as if Prague had created a softer twin for the evening hours. Ivy drapes over stone bridges, and low lights hang from terraces where candles flicker beside glasses of Moravian wine. Even the river seems to murmur more gently here, as if whispering lullabies to the night. This is a neighborhood of poets, painters, and quiet thinkers. Each window could be the start of a story, each staircase a descent into memory. There is a sense of safety in these lanes, a feeling that the outside world, in all its noise and haste, cannot reach this place. It is not shielded by gates or guards, but by atmosphere alone. Malá Strana holds its peace not by force but by invitation. In this soft corner of the city, even silence seems to speak. And as the lamps glow a little brighter and the footsteps grow a little fewer, one finds a kind of comfort here that is rare and lasting, a comfort that doesn't call attention to itself, but simply waits to be felt. In Malá Strana, night is not an ending but a deepening. The Vltava River flows like a silk ribbon through the center of Prague, carrying with it reflections of domes, towers, and time itself. As twilight deepens into night, the surface becomes a mirror of stars and lanterns. Gondolas and paddle boats have long since returned to dock, and now the river belongs only to its own stillness. It hums softly, like a lullaby barely audible, known more through feeling than sound. Along its banks, low stone walls provide resting places for those who wander here at dusk. Couples sit side by side without speaking, their shoulders touching as they watch the ripples glide past. A man with a book leans against a lamppost, the pages barely visible in the soft amber glow. Not far off, the silhouette of a fisherman waits patiently, not for fish, perhaps, but for quiet. The river does not demand attention, it simply offers it. The bridges that span the Vltava each tell their own stories, but in this hour they seem to fold into one gentle rhythm. Mainz Bridge, Legion Bridge, and Czech Bridge arch like brushstrokes across the darkening canvas of water. Lanterns line their edges, throwing golden halos onto the surface below. The movement of the current softens every reflection, as if the river were gently editing the day's memories. Smetana embankment curves gracefully along the east bank, lined with benches and trees whose leaves tremble in the soft breeze. A street performer finishes his final piece, a slow cello solo that lingers in the air long after the bow has stilled. The scent of mulled wine drifts from a floating café moored along the quay. A few guests linger on its upper deck, wrapped in blankets, sipping slowly as the city quiets around them. Just beyond, the National Theatre rises in golden light, its statues silhouetted atop the roof like guardians of the arts. The gilded crown glints under the soft sky, while its mirrored reflection dances in the water below. A tram rumbles softly across the bridge beside it, lights flickering as it disappears into the folds of the city. Even the machines of Prague move gently at night, as if agreeing not to disturb the river's peace. Farther south, the river widens and slows. Swans gather near the reeds, their white feathers glowing faintly in the moonlight. The gentle clatter of cutlery and glasses filters from a riverside terrace where guests linger long after their meals, reluctant to part from the view. Here the city exhales. The rush of daytime fades completely, and what remains is simply presence, undistracted, unburdened, whole. Above the river, street lamps cast arched shadows over the path, and willow branches dip their tips into the dark water like brushstrokes on velvet. A pair of lovers carve slow circles on a bench with their fingers, their words whispered and brief. Even the birds seem to glide more quietly, skimming the surface with near reverence. The river accepts it all, the music, the silence, the pause between breaths. And so the Vltava becomes more than geography. It becomes a rhythm, a pulse, a story told without voice. As it glides through the sleeping heart of Prague, it brings with it the soft promise that time can slow, hearts can rest, and dreams can rise like mist from the water. As night deepens over Prague, the city's quieter rhythms take hold, gentle, thoughtful, and warm. Hidden in courtyards and tucked between centuries-old facades, cafés begin to glow from within. Their windows fog lightly with warmth, silhouettes of patrons casting soft shadows behind the glass. This is the hour when conversations soften, books open, and time seems to pause altogether. The air outside is cool and crisp, but inside the light from candles and reading lamps creates a pocket of peace. Her favorite among wanderers is a little café near the base of Petřín Hill, where creaky wooden floors echo faintly with each step, and the tables are mismatched in the most comforting way. The aroma of dark roast coffee mingles with the sweetness of honey cake and the slightest trace of burning wood. Shelves of books line the walls, some well-loved, their spines faded, others recent arrivals waiting for new hands. A pianist plays in the corner, his notes like falling leaves, gentle, spare, and just enough to carry the silence. People sit in twos and threes, their voices low or alone with tea and poetry. A mother reads to her child in Czech, the rhythm of the language soft and soothing, like the rise and fall of a lullaby. Someone sketches quietly in a corner, candlelight casting long lines on the page. Outside, frost begins to form on the edges of windows, but inside time feels like a blanket. No one checks the hour here. It is not needed. In another part of town, just steps from the Charles Bridge, an old bookstore operates more by ritual than schedule. The owner, a man with silver hair and a slow gait, offers tea to anyone who stays longer than 10 minutes. Wooden ladders slide across tall shelves, and the scent of parchment and lavender hangs gently in the air. A reading nook in the back has a single armchair beside a leaded glass window. Here a traveller may sit for hours without disturbance, a soft lamp illuminating pages as the city dreams outside. Even the cafés on busier streets lower their lights and soften their music. At this hour the pace belongs not to tourists or traffic, but to those who seek shelter in stillness. Writers tap quietly on laptops. Artists sip mulled wine beside their closed sketchbooks. Waiters move slowly, careful not to break the peace. Every motion seems to carry its own hush, as if the buildings themselves request gentleness. Desserts arrive dusted with powdered sugar, like snow fallen indoors. Apple strudel steams on simple plates, and glasses of becherovka warm cold fingers. Conversations meander, then pause, allowing the quiet to speak for itself. It is in this silence that ideas are born, that memories return, that the heart finds its resting rhythm. This is Prague not as a destination, but as a companion. Through arched doorways and ivy-covered walls, the glow of candlelight flickers like whispers. It peeks through lace curtains and around cracked shutters. Every café is a hearth, every bookstore a chapel. Together they form a constellation of quiet sanctuaries across the city, offering not distraction but depth, not noise but comfort. And so, with a warm cup in hand, a soft page turned, and the gentle light of a flickering flame, this chapter of Prague comes to rest, not with grand sights or famous names, but with the quiet presence of a place that understands the need for stillness and offers it freely. Rising gently above the west bank of the Vltava, Petřín Hill offers a quiet escape from the city's cobbled lanes. Though it sits just beyond the bustle of Malá Strana, it feels like another world entirely, one where grass softens every footstep and treetops seem to reach for dreams. The air is fresh here, especially at night, when dew begins to form on the leaves and the moon casts a silvery path through the orchard groves. A climb to the top is rewarded not with noise or lights, but with stillness and sweeping views. The paths are winding and peaceful, lined with benches and old gas lamps that flicker gently in the dark. Lovers stroll hand in hand, their words hushed as if not to wake the trees. Some sit on the grassy hillside wrapped in blankets, watching the slow shimmer of city lights far below. The hum of the streets fades into a distant murmur. Petřín is a place for breath, a place to feel the sky stretch out wide above you. At the summit stands the Petřín Lookout Tower, Prague's modest echo of the Eiffel Tower. Lit softly from below, it glows like a lantern against the dark canopy. Visitors climb its spiral staircase during the day, but now in the deepening quiet of evening, the tower stands mostly alone, its shape etched delicately against the stars. Nearby, the Mirror Maze waits like a relic from a gentler age, its entrance lit by a single bulb and framed by hedges and ivy. Inside the maze, the world turns playful. Though it's late, a few curious visitors step inside, their laughter muffled and surprised as they wander through corridors of infinite reflection. The mirrors bend and stretch their images, turning each step into a gentle game. Candlelight glows from antique sconces along the walls, casting warm distortions into glass. In this enchanted space, time bends too, memories of childhood return, and the weight of the day drifts away. Outside, the rose garden nearby rests in shadow, its petals closed for the night. The scent of the blooms lingers, sweet and faint, like perfume from a half-remembered dream. A cat slips between the bushes, barely making a sound, and a breeze stirs the hedges with the softest rustle. Everything here moves in whispers. Far below, Prague sparkles, rooftops and domes alight like stars fallen to earth. From this high and quiet perch, the city seems gentle, held in a hush that feels protective. The tram bells and footsteps, the music and voices, all have faded to a soft lull. Here only the rustle of leaves and the rhythm of breath remain. Petřín Hill doesn't ask for attention. It offers perspective of the city, of the night, and of oneself. It is a place to rise above the noise, not to escape it, but to understand it from afar. In its stillness, it becomes a mirror of its own kind, one that reflects peace instead of form. And as stars multiply above, and the last visitors descend slowly back toward the sleeping city, Petřín remains, a quiet witness to Prague's most tender hours. In the quiet heart of Hradčany, just a short walk from the bustle of Prague Castle, rests the Loreta, a Baroque pilgrimage site unlike any other. By day its facade is grand, with white walls and green copper spires that catch the sun. But by night it softens, its courtyards dim and still like a monastery sleeping beneath the stars. The scent of lavender from nearby gardens lingers in the air, and the soft chime of distant bells seems to float without origin. The Loreta's most gentle guardian is its carillon, a rare instrument made of 30 bells that sing on the hour. At night, the melody is quieter, like a memory played just for those who are still awake. It begins with a gentle note, then ripples outward in a cascade of silver sound. The bells don't startle or command attention, Instead, they invite the listener to pause, to breathe, to feel time slow like snow settling on a quiet rooftop. The courtyard within is empty now, save for the flicker of a lantern by the entrance and the occasional rustle of ivy against the stucco walls. A statue of the Virgin Mary stands watch over the arcade, her eyes cast gently downward, as if listening to the last thoughts of the day. Footsteps echo on the smooth stone, measured, light, reverent. This is a place of devotion, but not only in the religious sense. It is a place devoted to stillness. A bench near the cloister invites one to sit. From here the spires of Prague peek above the outer wall, and the cool air carries the scent of old incense and stone. A bat flickers through the lamplight, quick and soundless. The silence here is not empty, it is full of centuries. Even the shadows seem to carry history. This is a space where time folds in on itself, like hands brought together in quiet prayer. The chapel of the Holy Hut, a replica of the Casa Santa of Loreto in Italy, rests at the center of the complex, wrapped in sculpted reliefs that seem to glow in the moonlight. Though the chapel is closed now, its presence is palpable. There is no need to enter to feel its gravity. The architecture itself speaks in a language of peace, its rounded arches and calm symmetry creating a rhythm for the heart to follow. In nearby alcoves, the flicker of vigil candles can still be seen through narrow windows. Their flames move slightly, as if bowing to unseen passers-by. The entire Loreta seems to be listening, perhaps to prayers, perhaps to silence, perhaps to the quiet breath of the city at rest. It is not a place of spectacle, but of soft reverence, a cradle for reflection. The bells chime again, not loudly, not insistently, just a single melodic gesture, a sigh made musical. It rises and fades like a ripple on still water. Those who hear it do not speak. They simply turn their gaze upward toward the belfry and allow the sound to settle into them. And as the hour passes, and the last of the lights dim behind the cloisters, the Loreta sleeps once more, wrapped in shadow and sound, cradled in Prague's oldest hush. South of the bustling center, beyond the gentle bends of the Vltava, rises Vyšehrad, a fortress older than Prague Castle, wrapped in legend and silence. At night, the old ramparts stand in quiet vigil, their stone walls lined with shadows and ivy. From these heights the view of the city is sweeping but not boastful. The castle, the river, the bridges, they all seem softer from here, as if the world itself is preparing for sleep. The entrance path curves gently through a small park, where lanterns sway on wrought iron posts and trees whisper softly in the breeze. Few visitors come here after dark, making it a sanctuary of stillness. Gravel crunches underfoot in slow rhythm, and the air smells faintly of pine, stone, and the last of the lilac blooms. Statues stand along the walk like sentinels of Prague's past, silent and serene. The twin spires of the Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul rise above the trees, lit from below so they glow like beacons in the twilight. The church bells are silent now, their work for the day complete, but the memory of their chimes lingers in the air like incense. The stained glass, dark from the outside, promises color and story within. The facade is intricate and proud, yet somehow gentle in the evening hush. To one side of the church lies Vyšehrad Cemetery, where poets, composers, and statesmen rest beneath sculpted angels and stone laurels. The names engraved here are part of Prague's soul. Dvořák, Smetana, Čapek. Their legacies live on in music, in words, in silence. Candles flicker at a few headstones, placed earlier by unseen hands, their light trembling in the cool night breeze. Beyond the basilica and cemetery, the ramparts stretch toward the edge of the hill. From here the city glows below, a quiet constellation of lights tracing the river's path. The trains that pass beneath the cliff do so like whispers, their lights sweeping quickly before vanishing. Up here time slows to a breath, then another, then stillness. The world is vast, but the moment is small, complete and whole. Legend says Vyšehrad was the seat of Libuš, the prophetess who foresaw the greatness of Prague. Standing here beneath the stars, it's easy to believe her vision. The hill carries a kind of knowing, as if it remembers every footstep that ever passed across its stones. It does not speak loudly, but it speaks, and its voice is one of calm, of strength, of ancient comfort. The fortress walls, solid and weathered, feel more like arms than barriers. They hold the hill together, yes, but they also embrace the city from above. No battles rage here now, only dreams drift by, caught on the breeze, circling gently among the treetops. Vyšehrad no longer guards from danger, it guards from haste. And as the wind brushes through the leaves, and the river shimmers quietly far below, the hill rests with the city it once ruled. Both are at peace, wrapped in moonlight and memory, waiting for morning with patience and grace. Night has fully settled over Prague now. The lanterns burn low and the last tram has rattled softly down its track. A breeze moves gently through the trees of Petřín, through the courtyards of the castle, and across the silent arches of the Charles Bridge. It carries with it the scents of stone and lilac, roasted almonds and wax, echoing with bells long since rung and footsteps long since passed. The city has not stopped, it has simply quieted. From the spires of St. Vitus to the cobbled corners of Malá Strana, Prague breathes slowly, calmly like a great old tree resting beneath the stars. Its towers no longer reach skyward for grandeur, but for comfort, sentinels watching over a world in slumber. Reflections dance gently on the Vltava's dark surface. Candles flicker behind leaded glass. Somewhere a single violin plays and then stops. The silence that follows is not empty, but complete. And so the journey draws to a close. Prague, the city of 100 spires, has revealed herself not through spectacle, but through serenity. Her beauty is not in how loudly she shines, but in how gently she speaks, in quiet chapels, in soft music, in the hush between bells. Sleep now carried on the river's rhythm and the city's deep breath. Prague will still be here in the morning, timeless, tender, and waiting. We hope you enjoyed today's serene journey and found peace in our gentle narration. Do join us next time as we make a relaxing visit to another of the world's most iconic places. Sweet dreams and safe travels until we meet again.